Eugene, how do you see the committee's tension around the Thomases playing out?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to continue to see more pressure, right? As things have come out, it started last week where we started to hear about these text messages, and different reporters got their hands on those text messages that went to Mark Meadows from Ginni Thomas. And that continued. We started to hear more. What are the other contacts that she had around and before the election, about the election, trying to overturn the election. So they're going to continue to see more pressure to do something, because as they've said before, everything is on the table, right? And they're going to, that theory is going to get tested when it comes to Ginni Thomas. And, you know, what I think is really interesting about her text messages to Mark Meadows, where she's spreading, you know, QAnon conspiracy theories, things that we heard for months before January 6th that also helped lead to January 6th, is that it's a reminder to, especially for those of us on the coasts, that the stereotype of someone who believes in these conspiracy theories is wrong, right? It is not always going to be someone in the middle of the country, someone who lives in a rural area. This is a woman who is a conservative activist. She is someone who is the wife of a Supreme Court justice, highly educated, and she too believed these conspiracy theories, and more dangerously, had access to some of the most powerful people in the country, right? Mark Meadows texting her back, not every time, but texting her back enough to know, for us to know that he got those messages, right? And so that's something that I think we should all take away from that, because we know how these conspiracy theories build. We've seen on January 6th what ends up happening in other times over the last few years, what happens when these conspiracy theories are believed.
And Eugene, we saw sort of the head nod to the QAnon believers during the recent confirmation hearings of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. We're going to talk about that a little later in the show. But Juanita, Democratic Senator Amy Klobuchar is the latest lawmaker to call for Justice Thomas to recuse himself from January 6th cases. I want you to take a listen.
You have the wife of a sitting Supreme Court justice advocating for an insurrection, advocating for overturning a legal election to the sitting president's chief of staff. And she also knows this election, these cases are going to come before her husband. This is a textbook case for removing him, recusing him from these decisions. And I don't think, all I hear is silence from the Supreme Court right now, and that better change in the coming week.
Juanita, your thoughts?
Look, I think Senator Klobuchar is absolutely correct that this cannot be glossed over, because Ginni Thomas essentially used her proximity to power to get this insurrection attempt to even the periphery of the highest court in the land. It's still mind-boggling for me, Alicia. And so I think you're going to hear more of these calls beyond Senator Klobuchar. We're already hearing it from progressive organizations who have requested congressional hearings and investigations. And Ginni Thomas should be subpoenaed. She should be investigated because, again, she leveraged her proximity to power to access the chief of staff of the White House to essentially encourage him to overturn this election. And that cannot be glossed over when this country is in a long-standing war, and not war, but a long-standing issue with defending and protecting the basic tenets of our democracy. And they're coming under repeated attack, as we know that folks like Trump and other Republicans are still coming after them. So doing everything that can be done to fortify and make sure that Justice Thomas is not putting himself in a questionable predicament, because as tempting as it is for him and other members representing the Supreme Court to say, oh, he didn't know, that's not going to cut it here. And recusal, especially after he was the lone dissenting voice on the case regarding the release of archival records to the January 6th Select Committee, raises additional questions, because there is potential for more to be presented to the Supreme Court. And this is not something that's going to go away. I do think, again, that Ginni Thomas should be subpoenaed by the Select Committee, and I appreciate Rep. Kinzinger for leaving that door wide open, saying they're going to bring in whomever they need to bring in, and she should absolutely be on that list.